Salvete Womnes. Everyone loves mythology, right? Well, tonight, hopefully, we're going to talk about some things that are going to make you a better mythology player or maybe a better coach of mythology players. I know from my own perspective, some of the best Certamen players I've ever known were mythologists. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm Jenny Luongo. I'm NJCL Certamen Chair and excited to be here with you.
And I'm Ben Van Gelder, your co-host. Stay tuned for some great mythology tips and some of our funniest Certamen stories in this episode.
So tonight we're joined by two really expert Certamen coaches to help us get this information to you about how to improve yourself as a mythology player and as a coach. So I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Michael Howard. I'm a teacher at Boston Latin School and I coach our advanced team.
Hi, I'm Beth Moguel. I'm also a teacher at Boston Latin School in Boston, Massachusetts, and I coach the novice Certamen team.
Well, thank you both so much for joining us here tonight. We're excited about this conversation.
Thanks for having us.
We always love to, of course, yeah, we always love to start just in general. Certamen's a pretty niche thing that I think we found ourselves to in one way or another. We just love to start. How did you originally find Certamen? And in the context of Certamen, like how did you over time, focus on mythology or find your particular areas that you wanted to study?
I guess I can start. So I started playing Certamen in 8th grade. My Latin teacher offered us candy if we came by after school for a practice. And so that got me to go. And then the thing that really kept me involved was just being there with all my friends and then going to competitions, meeting lots of new people. So it was really just the people and the relationships that got me hooked on Certamen. And then mythology. So I didn't really start to focus on mythology until I was a senior. And for me, it was a Massachusetts legend by the name of Chris Londa. I actually roomed with him his senior year at Nationals. And he had an amazing tournament. And so just watching him go through, helping him prepare for each round each night made me really want to be a part of that and try it myself. So then I really started studying the mythology super hard the rest of that summer and into the next school year and just fell in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
I learned about JCL while student teaching at Boston Latin. So I did not know JCL was a thing before then. I student taught with Miss Sherry Housey, legend, and she was coaching, I think, several levels of Certamen, if not all of them at that point. So while I was student teaching, I kind of learned from her, and I went to Harvard Certamen with her and watched the teams. And then when I got a job at Boston Latin, she kind of put the novice Certamen team on myself and Sal Bartoloma, and we tag teamed for a while. So that is how I learned about Certamen. I had no experience before then. I have always enjoyed mythology in general. I started taking Latin in 7th grade and then through college. So I just liked all of the stories, and I prefer it to history just because I don't have to memorize dates, but you still get the fun stories.
I love both of those stories because I think, some people do start this as students, and Mr. Howard, your story is a testament to how Certamen can really kind of get people going in JCL and also just in terms of studying the ancient world and keep them really plugged into it. But Ms. Moguel, I also am excited and thrilled that we have people who didn't necessarily play at Nationals as students or even play as students, but who have become a big part of our community. And I think both aspects are really important. I know from my perspective as a coach, students often come to me most eager about mythology. Because they've read Percy Jackson or love Edith Hamilton or, whatever it is that's gotten them tuned into mythology. And then as they realize the depth that mythologists go to, sometimes they get even more excited, but other times they get discouraged. And so I'd love it if you each would talk about maybe the challenges you've encountered, either personally or in terms of helping students study for the mythology category. And if you have any kind of advice or tips or tricks to help people out at home.
You want to start on this one?
Sure. So I can't really speak from a player perspective. I haven't really ever studied mythology other than like preparing it for class projects and things like that. But from a coaching perspective, I've generally just pointed kids towards source books, and then we will have like discussions about the myths and whatnot afterwards. In terms of prepping, I feel like we've done a lot of extra work on like parentage and all of the like tricky beginning like lead-ins to questions. So that's mainly where we've had to put a lot of focus, because again, like most of the kids are into the stories, they're into the names and whatnot, but it's all of the extra details that come into play in Certamen that, especially at the novice and intermediate level, like help you be successful in that subject area.
And one of the things that helped me was, I mean, there's so much information to learn. And so any way that you can break it down, you know, if you happen to be reading like Edith Hamilton or one of the other source books, you know, if you can pull the information off the page, you know, either put it into a flashcard. I personally was fond of lists, just, you know, categorizing things, different people who did certain things, or even writing questions is another great way to prepare, because it really gets you in the mindset of, you know, a question writer, you know, how might they ask this particular information. So when I was studying as a player, I did a lot of those three things. And the other piece is really just setting goals. I think you need a combination of, you know, manageable, attainable, short-term goals, and then also some goals that are going to, you know, challenge you and really push you to your limits. And, you know, for me, one of the things I did was, so for those flashcards, I would have a set that was, you know, my actual studying regiment, and then I would have a set that was, you know, just impossible stuff that I knew was never going to come up. And so I would have people quiz me on that one, the harder set, just to remind myself I still have some work to do, and then it motivated me to just kind of go back through everything.
I love that mindset. Ben, before we get to the next question, I want to ask either of you if you have a really good suggestion for novice level sources, because oftentimes the complaint that I hear from people is that the sources are a little friendlier for the advanced level. So I wanted to see if you had any recommendations there.
We have a lot of like our own like student generated material at this point. So it's usually starting with that, and with Edith Hamilton, like that's the go-to. I also really like Mythos, just as like telling the stories generally. It's not great to study off of, but it gets them hooked on the stories, and then you can go into lists and things to get more of the details.
Yeah, I'm a little bit further removed from the novice. I still help out when I can, but I don't have as great a grasp over, you know, which sources would be best. I know that the Morford and Leonardin classical mythology book is it's still dense. It's much more dense than Edith Hamilton, but I think it's a bit more approachable than some of the more, you know, dictionary style books like the Brayden Handbook or Jenny March textbook.
Is the Meridian Handbook the trip?
That's the trip, yeah.
So,
yeah, if you're from Florida, you call it the trip.
Oh yeah, tomato. Mike, super curious. So you know, if you're not necessarily a novice level player starting out in mythology, it sounds like you went from 0 to 100 in studying mythology, you know, straight to sort of advanced level materials. Guiltily, I have to confess, I tried to do that my senior year or two, and just cracking open the Meridian /trip / pick your label of choice, but made my way like I think 2 pages into the A's, and I was just like, this is crazy. So any advice on that, or there's just a lot of information if you're going straight to advanced?
Yeah, actually, so a while back I created something called the Certamen Starter Kit. people might be aware of. I think it's included in some of the NJCL materials, and I plan to revise it soon. But one of the things I think they're included in there is the set of like study questions from that Morford textbook. And honestly, that's where I started. They're arranged by chapter of the book. So, whether you're reading the book or whether you're going through the questions, however you want to approach it, you can go like, a chapter every couple of weeks. I got to a point where I learned how to think about the questions that were being asked. And so then the information started to stick a lot more quickly. So then I went very quickly from doing like a chapter every 2 weeks to doing like 2 chapters a week and just progressing along at that pace. And then once I finished that book, because it gave more of a narrative of the myths, then it was easy to go into Trip and, just pick a letter and plow through it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Cool. Fun question time. Who is your favorite Roman or Greek goddess, god, demigod, anything non-mortal? Let's leave it like that. And why?
That's a tough one. I don't know if this one's my favorite, but I'm going to go with Hephaestus right now, because I think he gets a bad rap. He's always talked about as being, the ugly god, or, the one that doesn't have as many stories associated with him. But I mean, I think he seems pretty cool, and, he's very useful, has lots of inventions that have helped other people accomplish things. So Hephaestus is pretty cool.
Got some great traps.
Mm-hmm.
I always go to Artemis because I just think her punishments are awesome.
Non-mythologist here. PG examples being what?
Actaeon, seeing her in a state, and she turns him into a deer so that he gets eaten by his own hunting dogs. Like, that's very creative.
Yeah.
All right, so now we want to hear the hardest myth question that either of you can remember that you've heard.
There's some good ones.
This is all you. Go for it.
All right. Can I give 2?
Of course.
So one of them was actually not a real question. Like I said before, one of the best things about Certamen is just the network that you're able to build. And so at this point, have lots of friends that I've, competed with or coached against or whatever. And so, every now and then we'll get together and just play some casual Certamen. And so one time we were doing this, and a few people had written a round and put some fake questions into the round. And only a handful of us knew that there were fake questions, and we were given the answers ahead of time. And so I was one of those people. And so there was a myth question. Sorry, I should rewind. So we talked a little bit earlier about Trip and some of the other sources. And I feel like most states, especially at the advanced level, kind of have one source book that they gravitate towards. So like, in Mass, it's Trip. I think Florida as well, right? Trip. Some people like to do the Grimmel Dictionary of Mythology. But if you pick one and you don't look at the other, there's lots of different things, and it's just very foreign if you study from the other. And so there was a question they asked, who was transformed into a 3-eyed sloth? And everybody was puzzled for a while, and then finally I buzzed in, and that unconfidently gave the answer Vola, which was of course the correct answer. And everybody freaked out, like, oh, how do you know this? What is this? And I'm like, oh, it's in Grimmel. And everybody was like, oh, I guess that it makes sense. Nobody knows what's in there.
Really noted for us question writers. I'm
but the hardest real question though, I think for me there were 2, and neither one of them actually got answered in actual competition. One of them was in the 2018 NJCL finals. They asked about a person named Kippus, who was like a senator that grew horns or something. It's a story in Ovid. And the other one was a question about the lost city of Atlantis that came up at Yale a couple of years ago in advanced finals. And at the time, those were things that just nobody knew. They were in, I think Kippos is from the Metamorphoses. Atlantis is one of those things in Trip that you kind of just gloss over. It's a place and say, oh, that's kind of cool, but you never really read the entry. But I think both of those were really cool because they opened up the door to really get people to start to look at those other things and take them seriously. So in a way, it kind of unlocked this whole gateway to a whole new set of things that could be asked or new clues that could be used because now people are actually looking at those different resources.
Yeah, and like, am I wrong? Was Atlantis even like really sort of mythology? Or I thought Plato invented that as like a example of like a perfect city or something. I don't know.
I think so. There, probably just other stories that grew from it. I know there's one entry that talks about Poseidon being involved somehow. I still need to learn it.
Well, hopefully this will get other people excited about going and reading about it in those source books. All right. Well, you've both been incredibly successful coaches, and I want to, you mentioned the Certamen Starter Kit that is available. There's a whole series of great materials that have been shared by successful coaches at njcl.org/Certamen. So if people want to check that out, they can go there. But would you all talk a little bit about tips for coaches who are just starting out, because I think it can be really overwhelming, and we're talking about a school year that has already been really overwhelming for educators. So if you all could maybe give people a few breadcrumbs to lead them down the road to help their students become great Certamen players, that would be awesome.
Or to Mike's story really quick, is it as simple as candy?
At the novice level, yes. We also do a novice tournament at the beginning of the year that pulls in a lot of kids in all subject areas. So we'll have like a myth week, a history week, etc. And we offer like an Amazon gift card to the kid who wins. So that gets people coming, and then some of them stick around. It also gives us an idea of like who can buzz quickly, even if they don't know the answers all the time. We're like, all right, your reflexes are good. We can teach you things. So that helps get kids in seats. I was lucky in that I came into a like developed Certamen community, and I've had Mike for the last several years to steal materials from and coaching tips and things. So I did not have to learn a ton on my own, but I've always found it really helpful to just look back at old questions from tournaments to see like how the tournaments are organized and everything, see like what types of questions come up. So like I feel like I've also learned how to Certamen along with a lot of my students. So just that kind of stuff. And reach out to people for help.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people willing to help. Now, the novice tournament that you mentioned, is that just for students at your school?
Yeah, but anyone at the school, they don't have to be a member of JCL yet. It's like very beginning of the year just to get some new blood in there.
Very fun.
Very cool.
Very fun. Yeah. All right, you have any more words of wisdom, Mr. Howard?
Yeah, I guess I'll add to what Beth was saying about like learning with the kids. I mean, it never stops as long as you're coaching. Like, you don't need to feel like you have to have all the answers going into it. I mean, your kids are gonna, if they get really excited about it, they're gonna start to study on their own, and pretty soon they're gonna know a lot more than you do as their coach, and that's great. You want that to happen, and at the same time, just you got to be kind to yourself. I mean, don't feel like you're not doing enough. Even you just taking the time to read questions to your students is a lot and very appreciated. And so just keep doing what you're doing. Give those opportunities, and yeah, just be open to the growth.
That's a great. That's just a great statement. Be open to the growth.
Yeah.
And I know I've grown a lot as a teacher, just from being around kids who are interested and kind of push me to learn new things too, which is really wonderful. I think also that idea that you don't have to know everything. You just have to be willing to spend some time reading questions to kids, investigating ideas, investigating different stories, that kind of thing. All right, I have one more question for you all that we didn't really prep you for, but I think it's really important as we bring the kids in and as we start going through questions. There are a lot of challenging stories in mythology in particular, in the ancient world in general, but in mythology in particular. And I think that that's part of what's compelling in some of these stories, is that it deals with like the big problems of being human. But I also find that, especially with my younger students, when we start working on mythology, we sometimes run into really challenging topics like rape or incest that need to be addressed. And I wanted to see if either of you had suggestions for how to handle that, or suggestions for how we as a community can handle it better going forward.
For me, I think the main thing is just that you address it rather than like glossing over it. I feel like that has kind of historically been the method of just like, oh, this thing happened, let's keep going. And you're like, no, wait a minute, like, let's talk about this a little more. Was that okay? Did she really fall in love with him at the end of this story? Is that the ending? Are they living happily ever after? So I think just the fact that you're like having those conversations with the kids is important, and I know they appreciate it. So
yeah, no, I agree. It's just important to address, whenever you can. And myself, having played Certamen since high school, there were times where I wasn't quite aware of the magnitude of certain stories that were being discussed, and so you kind of have this mindset where it's just trivia. You're just answering questions. And now as a teacher and as a coach, looking back on certain questions that came up, I'm like, oh, that really is kind of a problematic story, and we should, if it comes up, we should talk about what's going on there, why that's not okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have to say that especially as students get to the end of their high school career, some of our most compelling conversations in class are after we've read something like the Apollo and Daphne story and have the opportunity to talk about all of the problematic messages that are a part of it, the gender roles, all of those sorts of things. And I think it's a great opportunity to work through those tough things with kids. So I welcome the opportunity, but also want to make sure that all students and teachers know, obviously, that these topics are challenging, and the most important thing is that everybody take care of themselves and step away when you need a moment to deal with some of these topics. All right, I'm going to let these wonderful students into the Zoom. And we'll give them the opportunity to introduce themselves, let us know where they're from, give any insight they have from their time playing Certamen, that sort of thing. So welcome. And Eileen, if you want to go ahead and start.
Sure. I'm Eileen. I'm an 8th grader at Boston Latin School, and I take Latin 1. And my advice for learning myth would be to definitely read like source books like Edith Hamilton, Morford, and Tripp. And like as you go along, do whatever method works for you. So like that could be taking notes, writing down things you think are important and stuff you're gonna like go back to right before a tournament or a round. And it could be like making flashcards on Quizlet or Anki and constantly studying them, and just like do that really often. So like you're gonna like begin to like learn and acquire the stuff in the source books. And my favorite Certamen memory would be when recently at Harvard Certamen, my teammates and I made our virtual background into a frog in order to express our love for frogs.
That's awesome.
Excellent, excellent. All right, Brayden.
All right. I'm Brayden Anderson. I'm a sophomore at Cambridge High School in Milton, Georgia, and I'm in Latin 2. A tip I would have is just a little bit every day that goes a very, very long way. Like, I don't know, 15 minutes looking at maybe a myth, looking over it just consistently, and then, quizzing yourself on it, going maybe one myth at a time. Stuff like that has really helped me, at least. And then, yeah, of course, flashcards, maybe impromptu quizzes with friends, with your Latin groups. It really helps a lot. And my favorite memory, there was one time where I actually buzzed in like 3 seconds into the question. All I'd heard was echidna, and I randomly guessed from her children the chimera, and I got it right. Like, nobody was expecting it. Most of all, not me. I was not prepared to get it right, but it was very funny. Still look at it fondly.
There's a saying, it's better to be lucky than good.
That's awesome.
I'm Jack. I am from Klein Collins in Texas. I'm a junior and I'm in Latin 2 as well. My best advice for studying is definitely a little goes a long way, but also just read the stories and get as much context as you can, because the context is like the names will come later, and the names will come a lot easier if you know the story, you know the story really well. And also, I don't know how this works for other people, but I'm a very auditory person. So me going back and forth with my teacher, with my teammates, is probably the most helpful for me. My favorite memories for Kataman are always where I like clutch a tournament at the last question. Those are always my favorite. And recently, well, we still didn't win, but it was the last question. I still clutched it. But it wasn't even a myth question. It was a history question. The answer was Julia Domna. So I thought that's pretty cool. I'm pretty lucky too, I think.
A good way to end, even if you didn't win.
Hi, my name is Jin, and I'm a senior at Boston Latin School. So I don't really like regularly like do like Quizlets and Anki and like stuff like that to study. Instead, I found what helps for me is to write toss-ups and write rounds that people enjoy to like play if they want. It helps me and also helps them. And also just reading the source books, I guess. I just read like Trip once and then kind of went back to it like section by section of things I didn't like retain very well, and wrote them down as lists. And I have this like one big Quizlet set that I just go through once before a tournament, and it always helps me like refresh my memory. I think maybe not my favorite Kraton moment, but a lot of friends have been they have enjoyed this moment at Nationals 2020 finals, where no one was buzzing on the question about a city in Italy founded by Aeneas. And the day before, I had read the Massachusetts Aeneid Guide, where it says that Aeneas founded Pergamum. So I said Pergamum, but apparently Pergamum is not in Italy. So I think that's my moment.
It provided some comic relief.
I'm Max. I'm a freshman at Gilbert Classical Academy in Arizona, and I'm in Latin 3. My advice for studying mythology is you got to be interested in it. I feel like you learn it a lot better if you actually want to learn about it, rather than just reading and like doing it to finish and like just to win. You need to be interested in it. And yeah, and also help discussing with my teammates. We've discussed like one myth for hours at a time. It really helps me to remember. Yeah, and I just also love those Quizlets online. There's some really good ones. And my favorite memory's got to be at a Certamen competition. We had just got a toss-up ride about Odysseus. The next question, it was really weird. We had absolutely no idea what it could be. We just randomly buzzed in and said Odysseus again. And it turned out to be right. And we're just like, what the heck just happened? Yeah, that's my memory. Gotta love it. Awesome.
I like that a lot of your fun memories have to do with like being surprised about getting an answer right. I do think those are some of the funniest moments, especially for the spectators when they see the shock on your face that you actually got the answer right. All right, well, thank you all so much for coming tonight, and also for sharing your tips for studying mythology. Hopefully that will help some of the people watching along at home. We're going to go ahead and play a little Certamen now. So if you guys want to get your buzzes ready in the chat, we're just going to do a series of toss-ups in probably a couple of different sets. We may get to 2 sets, we may get to 3 sets, we'll see, but we'll start with this first set. So toss up 1 for any player from any team. Agamemnon was told to sacrifice his daughter.
We have a buzz from Jen.
Iphigenia.
No, I'm sorry, that's not correct.
We have Eileen next.
Alice.
I'm sorry, Alice is not correct.
And Jack.
Achilles.
Achilles is not correct. So I'll keep reading the question for the players that haven't buzzed yet. Agamemnon was told to sacrifice his daughter Iphigenia because he had angered which Greek goddess?
Max.
Artemis.
Artemis is correct. Congratulations. All right. So yeah, that lead in was a little bit misleading, could have gone in lots of different directions. We will move on to toss up number 2 for any player from any, I guess we're not really in teams. For any player, toss up 2. What son of Zeus and Alcmene was ordered by?
We have a buzz from Jen.
Heracles.
Heracles is correct. Was ordered by his cousin Eurystheus to complete 12 labors. Good job. Toss up 3. According to Hesiod, who was the firstborn child of?
A buzz from Jack.
Hestia.
Hestia is correct. Nicely done, Jack. The firstborn child of Cronus and Rhea, the goddess of the hearth, whose priestesses at Rome were responsible for tending an eternal flame that at times caused fires in the Forum Romanum. That's Hestia. All right. Max, did you have a question?
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. No worries. I just saw your hand go up. Thought I might want to check. All right. Toss up number 4.
Instinct, right? Yeah. I was just joking. I said teacher's instinct.
Yeah, exactly. I saw a hand go up. I got to stop. Toss up number 4. And the last one in this first set of 4 toss ups. What centaur was prevented by Heracles from?
We have a buzz from Eileen.
Nessus.
This was not Nessus. We'll keep going. What centaur was prevented by Heracles from abducting Nesemike and forcing her to marry him, and attempted to rape another bride, Hippodamia, at her wedding to Pirithous? What centaur was prevented by Heracles from abducting Nesemike and forcing her to marry him, and attempted to rape another bride, Hippodamia, at her wedding to Pirithous? I've read it twice.
Jen.
We're allowed to like rebuzz after twice, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Eurytion.
Yeah, Eurytion is correct. Good job. So that's a great example. You guys probably heard the coaches talking earlier about how some of the content of mythology is really challenging. And so as mentioned, we're going to have some questions where we're dealing with things like rape, kidnapping, child abuse, that sort of thing. So it's sometimes hard to address in the trivia contest that is Certamen, but hopefully it leads to lots of good discussions with your coaches and your classes as we think about all of the challenges of these stories and of generally human life. All right, so we're going to start our second set of questions. We'll do toss-up number 5 in this second set. What couple, impoverished and living in Phrygia?
Buzz from Jen.
Glaucus and Philemon.
Good. Tried to feed their only goose to Jupiter and Mercury when they realized they were in the presence of gods and were rewarded by living out their lives together, and in dying being transformed into an oak and linden tree. Jen is right. It's Glaucus and Philemon.
Can I give a pointer there?
I would love it. Yeah, great.
I think Jen was able to get that because he knew the geographical region of Phrygia, and I think that in recent questions, it's become really popular to incorporate geography more. So if you can, if you see a particular place name that stands out, definitely make note of those.
Yeah, place names, and we mentioned parentage before as being good lead-ins, but learning those types of lead-ins are really helpful. So good job on that one, Jen, for knowing Phrygia. All right, toss-up 6. What seer of Colophon successfully predicted the exact number of figs in a tree?
Buzz from Jack.
Tiresias.
Not Tiresias.
Eileen.
Calchas.
Not Calchas this time, but you guys are listing seers. So I will repeat it for people who haven't buzzed. What seer of Colophon successfully predicted the exact number of figs in a tree and the exact number of piglets a sow was carrying, thus defeating Calchas in a seer-off? What seer of Colophon successfully predicted the exact number of figs in a tree and the exact number of piglets a sow was carrying, thus defeating Calchas in a seer-off?
I would say Buzz from Jen, but I think Eileen is really itching to. Do you know the answer now?
Is it Mopsus?
It is Mopsus. It is Mopsus. So yeah, Jen, that was probably what you were going to say too. Yes, good job to both of you. All right, toss up 7 in this second set. What woman earned the skin of the Caledonian boar by being?
Buzz from Jack.
Atalanta.
Atalanta, good job. All right, and toss up 8, the last one in this set. What person was given 4 seemingly impossible tasks, including 2?
Buzz from Max.
Psyche.
Including 2 that necessitated traveling to the underworld because she simply wanted to get a good look at her husband Cupid. Psyche is correct. All right. I think we've got time to do this third set. What do you think, Ben?
Oh, of individual toss-ups?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. So this is our third set of individual toss-ups. We'll do 4 more and then we'll move on to dividing up into teams. Toss-up 9. What son of Andromache and Hector? Buzz
from Jen.
It's Dianax.
What son of Andromache and Hector was killed by Achilles' son Neoptolemus? Good job on that. This is probably a good time to remind everybody at home that we're going to have a Kahoot at the end that's going to incorporate some of these questions. So, be paying attention. And as always, there's JCL swag available in the Kahoot. So, we'll have some fun learning some mythology and playing a Kahoot in just a bit. All right, toss up 10. In the Aeneid, Aeneas finds the people of Palantium celebrating Hercules' defeat of what?
Buzz from Jack.
Caucus.
Yeah, of what monster? Cacus is correct. All right. Let's stop the individual toss-ups after this one. So we'll do one more. List the 2 canine children of Typhon and Echidna.
Buzz from Eileen.
Cerberus and Orthrus.
Good. Cerberus and Orthrus are correct. All right. Great job, everybody. We're going to move into some sets of toss-ups along with bonus questions where you'll get to collaborate with other people who are on this Zoom. And so again, Jen and Jack will serve as team 1 if you want to rename yourselves with a 1 in front of your name. And then our other players will be team 2. And Ben, I'll let you transition to reading those here.
Perfect. Let me know when we're ready.
I think Brayden and Max are going to be on team 2. Brayden and Max, if you want to click on those 3 little dots and rename yourself with the 2. Oh, perfect. I think we're good to go.
Awesome. Toss up 1 for any player. What character in the Iliad became so angry that he refused to fight, hampering the ability?
Jack?
Achilles.
Achilles is correct. Bonus number 1 for Jack's team, team number 1. Who put on Achilles' armor to fight in his place?
You know this, Jack? Yep, okay. Patroclus, final answer.
Patroclus is correct. And bonus number 2, who, Troy's greatest warrior, killed Patroclus thinking it was Achilles?
And, Hector, final answer.
Hector is correct. Toss-up number 2, if we're ready for any player. What son of Hyperion traveled across the sky? Jen?
Helios.
Helios is correct. What son of Hyperion traveled across the sky in a chariot of fire? Bonus number 1. What goddess of the dawn's chariot preceded Helios' chariot each morning?
Eos.
Yeah. Eos, final answer.
Eos is correct. And bonus number 2. What son of Helios wanted to drive the chariot of the sun, much to his detriment?
Phaethon, right?
Yeah.
All right, final answer.
Phaethon is correct. So 20 hypothetical points for team 1 on toss-up 2. Toss-up number 3 for any player. Who were the sisters of the Gorgons who shared Buzz from Jack?
The Graia.
Graia is correct. Graia, or the quote old women. Bonus number 1. Who stole the eye of the Graia?
Jen?
Perseus, right?
Yeah.
All right, Perseus, final answer.
Perseus is correct. And bonus number 2. When Perseus killed Medusa, what creature sprang from her blood?
Pegasus, probably, right?
Yeah. Or the blood was the Libyan snakes.
No, I think it's Pegasus.
Yeah. I mean, they just come out of her neck, though. Like.
Well, that's different because like the drops of blood fly when Perseus. Sorry, they like grow when they fall from the sky. I think that's different. I think they just want Pegasus now.
All right, I trust you.
All right, Pegasus, final answer.
So I have Chrysaor. I am not a mythologian, so I will let you all debate. But what do we think?
Yeah, Pegasus is right.
Also, I don't think Chrysaor could be considered a creature, but sure.
I think Pegasus works. Yeah.
All right, we'll go with it. 20 points on toss-up number 3. Toss-up number 4 for any player. Who was the only daughter of Menelaus and Helen? Eileen?
Hermione.
Hermione is correct. Bonus number 1. Who was originally supposed to marry Hermione?
Do you guys know this?
Dang. I should know. Yeah, I don't.
What do we want to go with?
I don't.
I'm going to ask for an answer, please.
No
Wait.
answer. Oh,
I want to see if someone can be lucky, but no worries. It was Orestes. And bonus number 2. When Helen left Sparta with Paris, Menelaus was away attending the funeral of what Cretan leader?
Minos?
That's the only queen king I know.
Yeah, let's go with Minos. Final answer.
Sorry, it's Catreus.
But Mr. Ristroff's right that an alternate answer to who was supposed to marry Hermione is Ron Weasley. So
There we go. Okay.
just want to put that out there, that we didn't have that on the page, but also acceptable.
Yeah, I always thought it was going to be Harry, but I was wrong.
I know, yeah.
Cool. Is this a natural pausing spot? Are there any sort of questions or tips from the questions we've read so far? I can keep rolling, but I didn't know if there was anything we wanted to go over there with any of the questions.
I think we're getting some good buzzes. I've noticed that sometimes they're risky, but I think those good anticipatory buzzes are sometimes just the risk that you've got to take. So these players are doing great.
Awesome. Well, let's keep going with it. Toss up number 5 for any player. Which sons of Zeus built and fortified Thebes? Jen?
Amphion and Zethus.
Amphion and Zethus is correct. Bonus number 1. Who was their mother?
Niobe, right?
What did you say?
Niobe?
No,
Oh,
it's,
no, Antiope.
yeah, go for that.
Antiope, final answer.
Antiope is correct. And bonus number 2. Before giving birth, Antiope escaped her father by fleeing to which king?
Do you know this?
I don't.
Wait, why am I blanking?
King of where?
Might be Focus. Wait, it might be Focus. Hold on. Let's just go with Focus. Final answer.
I'm sorry, it's King Apopius of Sicyon. That's a toughie. All right, toss up number 6 for any player. Which Roman deity, sometimes described as the son of Circe and Jupiter, came to be regarded as one of the first kings of Latium and was the protector of shepherds and their flocks? Which Roman deity, sometimes described as the son of Circe and Jupiter, came to be regarded as one of the first buzz from Jack?
Faunus?
Faunus is correct. Yes, one of the first kings of Latium and was the protector of shepherds and their flocks. Bonus number 1, which Roman deity was worshipped primarily by women and was often identified as the wife or sister of Faunus?
Carmenta, right?
Sure.
All right. Carmenta, final answer.
Sorry, it's Fauna or Bonadea. And bonus number 2, which king was the son of Hercules and Fauna, according to some sources, or Faunus and Marica, according to others?
Jen?
What is this sorcery? Faunus and Marica would be. Oh my god.
Who's the
Wait, I think that's Evander.
Okay.
Evander, final answer.
It's Latinus.
You're so close, so close.
Yeah.
Right time period and everything, or myth time period. In your myth chronology, you were on the right track. All right, great job to everybody. I think that's our last question. Am I right about that, Ben? Yeah. So good
That's
job
right.
to everybody who was buzzing here. So now we're going to start the part where people at home can, buzz along with us by playing Kahoot. So we'll go ahead and get that started for everybody. And just a reminder, you guys are welcome to join and play along. We'll make sure that we're sharing sound here. We don't want anybody to miss out on the fantastic Kahoot music. So for tonight, you can go to www.kahoot.it and join with the game pin 6 unus octo septem nihil unus 6. unus octo. Octo septem nihil unus. We'll go ahead and give people a chance to join.
Like Groovy Buffalo. Shout out to Groovy Buffalo.
Yeah, I know. I was decisive wombat kind of was speaking to me as well. Epic squid. We're getting some really good made up nicknames tonight, I think. So just a reminder to everybody that if we do start the game and you're still trying to join, that you can absolutely still join in. The game pin should be displayed at the bottom of your screen, but it is 6 unus octo, octo septem nihil unus 6188701. All right, let's go ahead and get started and see how we do on these myth questions. All right, the first one. Whose wife completed 4 heroic tasks given to her by his mother Venus? Whose wife completed 4 heroic tasks given to her by his mother Venus? So I think most of these questions tonight, Ben, are like, you know, were you paying attention during the rounds? Because we've gone over a lot of these things. We're gonna go ahead and 2, 1. There we go. Yeah, most people were paying attention when we read that question. Good. So this was Psyche, who was the wife of Cupid. Good job to everybody on that one. Oh, good. That nickname Decisive Wombat is up near the top. All right. Who set the 12 labors that had to be completed by Heracles? Again, these names should sound familiar. I think all of them were mentioned tonight. So was it Eurystheus, Eurydion, Jupiter? Oh, look at that. Everybody got that it was Eurystheus. Wow. Well done on that one. All right. Who was the child of Achilles? We mentioned this child in a question. Was it Patroclus, Orestes, Pyrrhus, or Neoptolemus? Lots of good options here. All right, we're on to the countdown. So Queenque, Quatuor, Trace. There we go. People may have been going back and forth between Neoptolemus, who was the person mentioned in the round tonight, but he also goes by Pyrrhus. So either of those counted as right. Good job, everybody, on that. All right. What Roman goddess's temple featured a sacred flame guarded by maidens? We're getting a lot of fast answers in on this one. I think people may know whether it's, look at that. Yeah, the Roman goddess is Vesta. Some people put her Greek name. That was the only mistake we had, Hestia. But of course, in Certamen, you got to pay attention to culture in that way. So good job. Oh, Rational Lion moving up on top with that one. Okay, what son of Priam and Hecuba was the greatest Trojan warrior mentioned in one of our questions? Polides, Polydorus, Troilus, or Hector? Oh, look at that. Perfect. And here comes Tropical Bunny, which is another great nickname. Who knew that there were tropical bunnies? All right, what was the name of both an Amazon queen and the mother of Amphion and Zethus? Oh, good job there. This was a challenging one. I think a lot of people know that Hippolyta is an Amazon queen, so that might have thrown people off, but this person was also not the same person, but with the same name, the mother of Amphion and Zethus. Uh-oh, here comes Rational Lion again. Okay, who defeated the Gorgon Medusa? Meleager, Theseus, Bellerophon, or Perseus? I bet this one is going to go fast. We may end it early. Looks like, oh, there we go. I was going to say, I think they're all going to come in fast on this one. Perseus, look at that. Perfect scores. Okay, what seer, going back to our discussion about seers, brought Glaucus, the son of Minos, back to life? I feel like some of our most challenging questions tonight have been about seers. Was it Tiresias, Polyidus, Calchas, or Mopsus? Okay, time to make your decision. There we go. So this was the only one we didn't mention earlier. Polyidus brought Glaucus back to life after he drowned in a vat of honey, but all of those guys are seers. Oh, here comes Fast Yeti, moving up, moving up. What fire-breathing monster supposedly lived in a cave near Evander's city, the future site of Rome? Was it Typhon, Charybdis, the Chimera, or Cacus?
Miss Jenny, may I ask the rationale behind the picture here?
I was just looking for something fiery.
Yeah.
All right. So the Chimera did breathe fire. So I can understand with that lead-in fire-breathing monster, a lot of people choosing Chimera. But the one who lived in the cave near Pallanteum, the future site of Rome, is Cacus. Okay, Fast Yeti staying on top. And our last one, what child of Typhon and Echidna had 2 heads? This is another one, Ben, where I just like chose a picture of random mythological picture.
Yeah.
So yeah, of those canine children of Typhon and Echidna, Cerberus had 3 heads, Orthrus just had 2. So that's the answer here. All right, let's see how we're doing. So just a reminder, if you are on top of the podium, Prairie Panther, Rational Lion, or is this Fast Yeti? Who is this?
Fast Yeti.
Fast Yeti. Take a screenshot. You can email me at certamen@njcl.org. Include your mailing address, and we will be sure to get that prize package out to you as quickly as possible. Mr. Howard is a previous winner of the JCL prize package and can attest that it has lots of fun swag in it. Am I right,
It's
Mr.
fabulous.
Howard?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we want to thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Students, thanks for a great set of toss-ups and a quick round of mythological questions. Thanks for being good sports. Coaches, thanks for sharing all of your wonderful tips. And we'll see everybody in May. I think our next show is May 13th, waiting past at least the AP Latin exam, hopefully getting past a lot of the AP exams. So hopefully people will be able to join in. We're going to have some more tips from a really experienced coach, and we're going to focus on history and culture. So that should be a lot of fun. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the NJCL YouTube channel so that you can stay up to date on what's coming on both JC Live and on Certamen Tonight. Valete omnes.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining.